Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then you can follow along in the book of Genesis, chapter number 4, beginning in verse 16. I'm not going to read all of this, verses 16 through 24. And just to back up and kind of remind you of the story, God has now confronted Cain for his sin, and challenged him, asked for an answer. Why did you do what you did? What have you done? And then verse 16 says, Then Cain went away from the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And then we see some genealogy here, some children that were born from that relationship, as Cain and his wife's family is established. And Cain is now a wanderer, an outcast, because of his sin, because of his actions. And then we begin in verse 17 of seeing the different paths here that these families end up taking. And this is a common thing. This is a common method in the book of Genesis. We will see this show up several times as we see how two families or more sometimes the different paths that their lives travel. And what we see here is that Cain's murder would infect his whole family. It became a line. By the time you read through his genealogy, you go down the list, you find out that his great, I believe is correct, 3 greats, grandson would actually be bragging about his violence. If you want to scan down there real quick, chapter 4, verse 23. Says, Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zilhah, hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. And so we see here the violence that creeps into his family. He actually has a great grandson who is bragging about killing someone, and he's bragging about it to his wives, more than one wife. We see that already God's design for the home has been cast out the window of one man and one woman. And so we see very quickly how this one action in Cain's life just begins to feed and carry on throughout his family. And I've read different things. I'm not sure the accuracy of them. I tend to believe they're fairly accurate. Of research that has been done, going back and studying lives of the genealogy and the descendants of some of the notable crooks, lawbreakers from 100 years ago, and how their family tends to just continue in that trend. And then to look at the genealogy, the descendants of good people, preachers and missionaries and others, and how that tends to follow. I'm not saying it's a perfect. I'm not saying no bad person ever had a good kid, or that good people don't have bad kids sometimes. But it does seem to be pretty common. It's certainly enough, even here early in Scripture, to cause us to be wary, to be careful of the seeds that we plant. Of what our descendants, what our children, our grandchildren learn from us, see in us, that we don't pass on this seed of sin, as we see obviously here in Cain's life. It's certainly enough of a warning. It's kind of like if somebody said you might get the flu if you touch that doorknob over there. Most of us would go ahead and avoid the doorknob. Somebody said, I know that the man who just went through there and opened that door had the flu and was sneezing and coughing, and you may get the flu if you touch that doorknob. Most of us would probably avoid the doorknob. Now, there's a chance we may not get the flu, but most of us would still probably avoid the doorknob. And the same is true. You may live a wild, sinful, immoral life, and your descendants turn out to be great lovers of God. But I'd rather take my chance on serving God and seeing what happens with my descendants. Wouldn't you? Think about it. You have a great day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.